Mission Impossible Fallout is the sixth Mission Impossible movie in the franchise. And if you went to this movie without watching Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, or you probably forgot about Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which is the fifth movie, you're probably left a little bit confused as to what is going on. Who are these characters? How do they already have a pre-existing history? And that's because while Mission Impossible 6 is the sixth movie in the franchise, Fallout is the sixth movie, it ties deeply into Mission Impossible 5 Rogue Nation. And they have characters and plot lines that carry over from Rogue Nation into Fallout, which creates kind of like a two-movie character arc, so to speak. And that's because of the main antagonist in Rogue Nation, who also reappears as an antagonist in Fallout, and that's Solomon Lane. Solomon Lane was the leader of this secret organization called the Syndicate, which Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible 5 kind of dismantled. And with him dismantling it and the whole syndication going up in flames, and the remnants of that syndication became the Apostles, who are the main villains of Mission Impossible Fallout. So by Ethan disrupting the syndication by Ethan disrupting the Syndicate and capturing Solomon Lane, his most zealot followers continue to honor his plans, and now they want to free their leader. That's why Ethan had that history with Solomon Lane. That's why Solomon Lane despises Ethan so much, because he worked his whole life to create the Syndicate, and Ethan crumbled in the last movie. Not only Ethan, but Elsa also was in the last movie, and her and Ethan together, Elsa from the inside and Ethan from the outside. So they crumbled his syndication, and that bred to the Apostles, and which brings in Henry Cavill's character, Walker. Now, Walker is different because he was not in the previous movies. This is Henry Cavill's first foray into Mission Impossible. And now we're going to jump a little bit into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen the movie, now's your chance to back out, because we're going deep into spoilers. Henry Cavill's character, Walker, is one of the Apostles. He is one of the people who was part of the syndication, and his job was to infiltrate the CIA and work his way up, which he did. And he's killed many of his former syndicate partners in the guise of for the greater good, because the syndicate and the Apostles have no qualms about dying for their cause. As we saw in the end of the movie, Solomon Lane was going to stay there until the nuclear bombs went off. He had no qualms. As long as their grand visionary schemes went through, that was perfectly fine with him. So his character comes in, and his character is the one who's been behind the scenes, and he's the one who contacted Ethan's ex-wife and had her come to the village as her guardian angel. Because of him being in the CIA, he knew about the Ghost Protocol that she was under, which ties into the fourth Mission Impossible movie. So this movie has a lot of threads going back to the previous movies. Even the White Widow, who plays a prominent character in this movie, has ties to the very first Mission Impossible movie. Now, her history and the reason why Ethan knew who she was to a degree is because her mother was part of the Mission Impossible franchise. Her mother was Max in the very first Mission Impossible movie, the woman who in the Nautilus that had Ethan do one of the best scenes of Mission Impossible when he tries to sneak into the database with the wire. Her mother, the White Widow's mother, was Max, the one who was the villain, not the main villain, but the third villain in that movie who wanted the Nautilus and who was behind Ethan breaking into the CIA. So to absolve her, the White Widow, to absolve herself and her family of her mother's crimes and her own crimes, she decides to work with the CIA by turning in Solomon Lane to the CIA. That would kind of give her carte blanche to wipe away her parents' past crimes as well as her and her brother's crimes. So that's where she fits into this. Elsa fits in because she helped Ethan in Rogue Nation. She was a mole in the Syndicate, and she was working closely with Solomon Lane. So after they captured Solomon Lane, of course, the British MI6 were not completely sold that she's not part of Rogue Nation, because after the fall of the Syndicate, the Apostles rose up, and nothing is absolving Elsa of being part of the Apostles. For all they know, she could still be in deep cover. So the way for her to clear her name would be to kill Solomon Lane. However, now that I think about it, that in itself isn't enough proof of loyalty, because we know the Apostles and Solomon are all willing to die for their cause. So of course they're willing to kill somebody else for their cause. But for her to save face with the MI6, that's her goal. That's why she's in this movie. Her and Ethan formed a bond in the last movie. However, she wants to return home. She wants to kill Solomon. Ethan isn't going to give him that satisfaction of an easy death, because at the end of this movie and at the end of Rogue Nation, even though they stopped Solomon, he still has Apostles out there. At the end of Fallout, there are still Apostles out in the open. And then we come into Ethan's wife, who was under the Ghost Protocols, and because of her relationship with Ethan, she can't be they can't be together. They explain this really well in the movie. They can't be together because Ethan is going to be so worried on protecting her. He won't be out there protecting the world. So she decides to take her own path, and he takes his own path. She ends up married and living a happy life, knowing that she did not stop the world's greatest spy from saving the world. And Ethan can be out there being happy that he knows that his wife is happy, because after their separation from Ghost Protocol to Rogue Nation to Fallout, Ethan always had the hunch that she wouldn't be happy knowing what she knows and always being on the run. And at the end of Fallout, knowing that she's married and doing something that she loves to do now, which is humanitarian work, traveling the world, Ethan cannot move on with his life knowing that he has her protected, he has her happy, and she's living her best life, and he can go on being with Elsa, doing whatever he needs to do. Because at the end of this movie, we know that there's going to be another Mission Impossible movie, because Ethan says he's just getting started. And so the plot of this movie harkens back to the previous movie in the sense that they want to create this cataclysmic shift of power. You know, the typical righteous villain stuff. If we destroy the epicenters of power, the church, the governments, all that, humanity will crumble and we'll rise better from the chaos. Ethan toured that in Mission Impossible 5. The apostles wanted to set out these nuclear weapons and spread this disease to kind of cleanse humanity and continue on with that plan. So Ethan toured that again. And we know that there are more apostles out there. Walker or Henry Cavill was one of the apostles, but we know that he's in contact with others. So they're not going to rest. And Solomon Lane's still alive, so he could play a bigger role in the future Mission Impossible movies. But essentially, that's all you need to know about this movie. Solomon Lane from Ghost Protocols, Elsa from Ghost Protocols. They're not done yet. The apostles, the syndication might have been destroyed. However, there are apostles running around, terrorists, or not just terrorists, but acolytes are out there trying to live the same life they tried and trying to achieve the same goals that they tried in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and now they're trying again in Fallout, and they're probably going to try it again in the next Mission Impossible movie, which kind of threads these together. And there's an overarching plot that isn't finished with Solomon Lane yet because he's not dead. We saw that at the end of the movie. They handed him over to the White Widow, to hand him over to MI6. We're not 100% sure that he got to MI6. But that's Mission Impossible Fallout in a nutshell. If you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you guys haven't already. And until next time, binge on.